Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to talk about something a lot of niche businesses struggle with, breaking free from the middlemen, the gatekeepers who control their growth. We're going to dive into a really cool case study from the world of private lending to see exactly how they're doing it, bypassing the gatekeepers to connect directly with their audience.
Okay, let's jump right in with the central problem, the real puzzle here. You've got these private lenders with millions, sometimes billions in capital ready to go, but their deal flow? Totally unpredictable. And this slide really breaks down why. You see the old way on the left? Everything, and I mean everything, is funneled through a broker. But then look at the new way on the right. That's all about direct access to the borrowers. So what's really pushing this shift?
Well, it really comes down to this thing that the source material calls the broker treadmill. And if you've ever been in business, you probably know this feeling. It's that sense that you're running and running but getting nowhere. Just constant effort without any real progress, all because you're not actually in control of your own pipeline.
And this diagram just lays the problem out so clearly. In that old model, the lender is 100% dependent on the broker. So what happens if that broker has a slow month, or goes on vacation, or just decides to send their deal somewhere else? Well, look at the bottom there. The lender's pipeline just completely dries up. That broker is the single point of failure. It's a huge risk.
I mean, think about what a massive bottleneck this creates. A lender can have all the money, all the expertise in the world, but if their handful of key brokers get busy or, just change focus, boom, the deals stop. They've basically outsourced the most critical part of their business, their own growth.
So the big question is, how do you get off this treadmill? And the answer isn't as simple as just find more brokers. Nope, it's a much bigger fundamental shift in strategy. You have to go from passively waiting for referrals to actively building and owning your own audience.
And the solution, when you boil it down, is actually pretty simple in concept. You have to build a direct bridge to your customers. Cut out the middleman. When you do that, you create a relationship that you own, that you control. And that's what makes your deal flow finally become predictable and scalable.
This right here, this is the end goal. Just look at the difference. Instead of capital just trickling through one or two gatekeepers, it's flowing like a river directly to a huge base of borrowers. Because in today's market, the real competitive advantage, it isn't just about having the money, it's about owning the relationship with the person who needs it.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this actually work in the real world? Let's get into our case study. We're looking at a company called Lender Tribune, and what they did is fascinating. They basically transformed themselves from just being a lender into being a publisher for their entire industry. So they didn't just go out and run a bunch of ads. No way. They built a whole media ecosystem. You can see the three pillars here. At the core, you've got lendertribune.com, which is all about the content. Then that's supported by Tribune Funding, their brokerage arm. And it's all fed by this big social media funnel that drives traffic. It's literally a machine designed from the ground up to attract and capture their perfect customer.
And the result of building this machine? This scale is just massive. We're talking about a direct line to over 50,000 real estate investors. And let's be clear, this is not just some marketing list they bought. This is an audience they own. But here's the real magic. The power of this audience isn't just how big it is, it's how specific it is. These aren't just random people. We're talking about fix and flippers who need high-leverage loans, landlords looking for those DSCR loans, developers hunting for construction financing. It is a super concentrated pool of the exact people private lenders are dying to reach. And here's what makes this so authentic. This whole thing wasn't built by some slick outside marketing agency. Nope, it was created by a guy named Greg Wilson, a 20-year veteran of the industry. He'd been an agent, a loan officer, a private lender. He'd done it all. So he wasn't just guessing. He was building the solution to his own problem. And this quote from him really gets to the heart of it all. He says, "I originally built this ecosystem to generate leads for my own loan brokerage. This wasn't just some abstract business idea. It was born out of pure necessity." He was living that pain of the broker treadmill we talked about, and he built this entire machine just to solve it for himself, to create his own predictable deal.
So what's the engine that actually drives this whole ecosystem? It's not what you might think. It's not aggressive sales pitches or a bunch of flashy banner ads. It's all about high-value content. Content that's specifically designed to build authority and, most importantly, to earn trust.
We write, you rank. I mean, how simple and powerful is that? Their whole strategy is right there in those 4 words. They do the heavy lifting of creating the expert content, and their partners reap the rewards, the authority, the trust, and the search engine rankings that come with it.
And there's actually a name for this approach. It's called authority marketing. The idea is, instead of hitting people with a hard sell,
You publish genuinely useful content that solves a real problem for your reader. When you do that, you automatically position your partners as the trusted experts. So, by the time a borrower actually needs a loan, that trust, it's already been built.
And just so you know, this isn't just them throwing random articles at a wall to see what sticks. This is their actual 2026 editorial roadmap. They're super strategic. They identify the year's biggest trends, like, say, the huge rise in DSCR loans for rental properties. And then they create these amazing deep dive articles that organically position their partners as the experts on those very topics. So when you step back and look at it, this whole strategy fundamentally changes what a business is even buying when they decide to market themselves. It's a massive shift away from just, renting some temporary ad space for a few months.
Right, look at this comparison. The old model, you were just buying time. An ad for a month, maybe 3. The new model, you're buying an outcome. You're not just renting a little bit of someone's attention for a short period. You're building authority, which is a permanent asset for your business. And how do you measure success? Not in months, but in actual deal flow.
And this pricing table really shows how their business model is perfectly aligned with this whole strategy. Just look at the different tiers. Notice how the real value isn't just banner ads, it's in the concrete deliverables, like ghost-written articles, social shares, newsletter features. When a customer signs up, they're not just buying an ad, they're investing in a complete authority-building campaign.
So, we've been deep in the niche world of private lending. But this whole case study really leaves us with a much, much bigger question, and it applies to almost any business out there today. If you can build and own your audience directly, do you really still need the gatekeepers? That's the huge strategic question that I think everyone needs to be thinking about.